Hello everybody, welcome to the latest episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. Now, in this game week preview video, it looks a little bit different. I will explain shortly, but before we get started, don't forget to like this video, click that subscribe button to this channel for our existing videos and all the content we intend on bringing between now and the end of the season. Anyway, let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He scores. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka. That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello everyone, I'm Matt, aka FPL Affairs veteran. Welcome to the podcast. You may notice things are a little bit different. I'm on my lonesome tonight. Unfortunately, Jack, his car broke down. We tried to persuade him to film roadside, but signal was terrible. Anyway, we're going to rattle through sides quickly. Jack's told me of his transfers. I will go through my plans quickly because I was lucky enough to be a guest on the All in Football podcast filmed today, and on that show I went through my wildcard draft. Anyway, let's get cracking. As always, the cover slide, transfer plans and team selection video for game week 30. So transfers in and out. Now, I will start with me, with my long-term plans, as you'll know by now, that I've been planning to wildcard for game week 31. Jack, you not spoiler alert, found out last week that he, in fact, game week 29 did his wildcard. So transfers in, he's actually gone early this week. What is that all about? Jack always waits till like 5 minutes before the deadline. Anyway, he has transferred out Aina and Haaland after his injury. We will look at his team in a moment as to who their replacements were. Mine, I've basically been looking to roll. Okay, the way Jack's got his team lined up is Nick Pope in goal, Gvardiol, Gabriel, and Munoz as a back three. Munoz coming in for Aina. In midfield, Captain Salah, Sarr, Kluivert, Bruno Fernandes, and Mente. And up front, Mateta in for the injured Haaland for a -4, and Evan Nilsson. On the bench, he's got Jose Sarr, Kirkes, Wood, and Milenkovic. Now, Jack was not aware what the AI suggested his transfers were to make. At the time of the recording, he was recommended to sell Evan Nilsson Fernandes after only 1 week. Aina he got right with Munoz, but instead of selling Haaland, it was Evan Nilsson for Isak. And, well, he's keeping Fernandes for the away to the Forest fixture. Anyway, let's skip along nicely to mine. Now, my bus team at the moment is looking a bit suspect in places. Pickford in goal, not liking that fixture. Gabriel, Gvardiol and Munoz, happy with that. Midfield, Salah captain, Palmer. He is back in training with Jackson and Madueke, so that suggests the chances of Palmer returning to some sort of form is encouraging. Also got Kluivert and Burmo with a tough trip to Newcastle, doubled up with Wissa up front. Gibbs White, who was actually yellow flagged, but expected to be fit. Up front, Isak and Wissa. Now, my problem with this, as I said, I was looking to roll initially, but with the FA Cup results and it looking clear as to when fixtures are likely to fall. So Arsenal, Palace, blanking in 34, likely to be played in game week 33 because of Arsenal's involvement in the Champions League in subsequent weeks. Manchester City, likely to blank in 34. We'll go through that next week, another point, but they're likely to move forward into game week 33 too, simply because their opponents, Aston Villa, are still in the Champions League. Forest, on the other hand, it's uncertain when their rescheduled game week 34 fixture against Brentford is going to be. Forest can't have their fixture moved to 33 because they have the Monday night fixture, which is televised against Tottenham, and I think the FA Cup match semi-final is on the Saturday, and the turnaround between league match to FA Cup is too short, so Forest can't double in 33. Okay, so with that information, and not at all as a Newcastle fan liking having a double up of Mbeumo and Wissa, it's really made me consider and rethink my chip strategy by moving my wildcard 31 into game week 30. Had I stuck with the 31 option, AI recommends, surprise, surprise, no transfers and rolling it into game week 31. Anyway, as I said at the beginning, I was lucky enough to be invited onto the All In Football FPL podcast with my fellow admin member of the Facebook group, Barry Stokes. On there, I discussed my initial wildcard 30 draft, and this is where we switch the audio over to that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show and podcast. It's episode 133, and we are live. Thank you ever so much for everyone for joining us so far. Don't forget, anybody who's listening to this afterwards or watching it now, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts from, and click the little notification icon, then you'll know when we've gone live. And follow us on our social media platforms of More Pod, of More P, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to follow the FPL Affairs Facebook page as well on Facebook, where Barry Stokes, our differential king, posts some good graphics. And I think we might have a special guest on later on from that podcast itself. So stay tuned. So I'm gonna. I've got Matt in the waiting room to do differential draft, and then we'll come back to wildcard chat. So let's see. Doing things live is always fun. The FPL Affairs veteran. Here he is. Going to get schooled at differential draft, Baz. How's Matt done at differential draft? Has he won any weeks?
He's played one, won one. So he's on great form. He's got a good record on this. Phil was up there as well with for a good record. I think he's played like 7-1-5. So yes, but Matt played one, won one. So hopefully it doesn't come true again.
No pressure, Matt. Nice to see you. How are you?
Yes, thanks for having me on.
You were supporting your team behind you, I can see.
Oh yeah, it's my generic backdrop for ours for the FPL Affairs podcast. So yeah, no fancy green screen.
Are you still hungover from the weekend?
Don't drink, so.
Not like
yeah,
the other 1,500 Geordies.
If it would have been possible for me to go, would have done. It's just the various different public transport options were just non-existent, with partly working at the weekend. So I was glued to YouTube for 3.5 hours, watching the club's broadcast presented by Anton Deck.
Lovely. Well, they're almost as good at presenting as you and I, Matt. That's for sure. We should have got a call up, mate. Let's do differential draft. Who's first, Baz? Talk to me.
Well, we'll let the guest go first. Obviously, I've had a.
He just won. Hang on. Right, hang on. How's he going first when he's 1 for 1? Baz?
You've got. I'm being kind, aren't I? So yeah. So obviously, I thought I'll let the guest go first, and I believe literally deleted the little stats off my phone. So I reckon I probably lost. And then I think it was.
What is going on here?
I'd
If-
I
say,
deleted.
oh, didn't it?
This is his. This
Deleted,
is
mate.
his section as well. This is the only bit he does. Right, prepped for it. So
Right, I've got the graphic. Okay, right. So basically, Mark's going first, then me, then you, Alex, then Scott's going last because he won with 32 points.
sounds like sounds like the whole season so far, doesn't it? Really, voice of the people. Guy doesn't pay any attention to winning the damn league. Anyway, off we go.
I'm guessing position at a time, right?
Pick whatever you want.
Whoever
Right.
you want first.
Oh, in which case I'll go Saka in midfield. 9%.
Oh,
I'm going to pick Eze, 8.5.
Oh, you're so boring. You're supposed to go under one on everything, Baz. God, honestly.
I
Well,
would
then
if he was a keeper.
I've obviously got to go Mateta then, haven't I? At 7%. Here he is.
who did you go for then? Eze.
Yeah, and I went for Mateta.
All right, I'll go for. It's put me off this. I'll go for the guy that's not returned in like 19 game weeks, but he's got a high ceiling. Phil Foden.
Come Foden. Voice of the people right there. Over to you, Matt.
Right. Okay. Evan Nielsen up front for Brentford, 3.5%, not Brentford, Bournemouth.
That is absolutely locked Baz into going for Strand Larson.
Yeah, Evan Nielsen was obviously my striker. Yes, so Strand Larson, yeah. 2.6% owned.
That was the most locked in pick ever. I will go for Lacroix. I can never say his name. This is the centre back at Palace because he's 1% bang on.
Sounds like a French wrestler. Jesus.
He does actually.
I'll go. Is it me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to go for him, but he didn't play the last game. I'll go for the other guy who doesn't return any points in fantasy football, Doku, at 1.5%.
Right. Okay. I'm going to go with the Man City defender Kusanov, 0.6%.
Yeah. Like that pick, I was on my list as well. It was between him and Lacroix I was going for next at my under ones. So, Barry?
Ruben Diaz, 2.4%.
Too busy complimenting everyone else and not getting my next pick lined up. I will go for my trusty Moreno at 0.9.
On my list as well.
Yeah.
I'll go for Zabrani, 0.5%.
Great pick, Scott.
Oh yeah, I've got him. I've got the under. I'm going to go with Kepa in goal.
And off goes the flood of goalkeeper picks.
Ooh, I'll go for Pope, 3.6.
It was between him and Areola, wasn't it, Baz? And I was literally going for the flip, and I was like, please go Areola, because I was going to put, right, Areola, 4.7%.
Oh, Robin Smith who's here.
Who have you got? Have you got a striker and a keeper left to pick, Scott?
Yeah, the worst positions, yeah. And it might be the other guy who very rarely returns any points. You know what I'm going for already. It has to be. Hoyland. Yeah,
The
Hoyland,
man,
1.1%.
Rasmus. Last pick. Off you go, Matt.
This is the worst week I've ever had.
Right. I think now this is bonkers considering I've got no Palace against Southampton. Um,
Look for Adam Walton. I gave him a shout earlier,
I'm
didn't I?
going. I'm going to go with Jacob Murphy of Newcastle, 4%.
Yep. He was literally my next pick, Matt.
I was split between him and Barnes. I thought if I end up being stuck for 1% and below, then I've got Harvey Barnes for the next game.
That's how everyone feels about Harvey Barnes.
Is it me?
No, not yet. You've got a bit of time to pick Jose Sarr, mate. You've got a bit of time.
No, it's either him or another one, and I bet the other one's already gone.
Yeah, he will have done because there's only 4 keepers on my list. Sarr's the only one left.
I'm going to go for Minutzi. 0.2% owned.
Of course you are. You love Minutzi, don't you? These are one of my favourites. I'm going to go for one of my other picks that I absolutely love. And I'm going to gamble he starts and go for Diogo Jota at 2.6.
Feel like this guy's been picked. Kepa?
Yes, he's gone, yes.
Yes, cool. At least I know when he's been gone. And then I'm guessing this guy's been picked. Nick Pope?
Yes.
Cool. So I'll go for Jose Sarr at 3.2%.
Here he is, Jose Sarr. It was nice this week. There were 4 keepers. There were 4 keepers under 5% all to pick, though, which was quite good, really. It's Matt. Do you want to read your team out?
So, if I wrote them down correctly, I've got Kepa of Bournemouth, 3.2% owned. Kusanov of Man City, 0.6%. Saka of Arsenal, 9%. Jacob Murphy of Newcastle, 4%. And Evan Nilsson of Bournemouth, 3.5%.
Barry?
Got Pope, Ruben Diaz, Eze, Minutzi, and Strand Larson.
A couple of strong teams there. I've got Areola, Lacroix, Jota, Marino, and Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Oh, Lacroix. Paddy Power did a thing when the wrestling was on where the guy dressed up as a crow, and it was hilarious when I was seen that. And that just reminds me of Lacroix. Anyway, this is the worst team I've ever picked for differential draft. I hate it. Bar, Bruni, Foden, Doku, Hoyland. Foden, Doku, Hoyland. There's a triple threat of trolls in this game.
Foden, Doku, Hoyland. You know what's funny? You could absolutely smash it this week as well. You never know with them guys, do you?
I won't.
It reminds me of the time where I picked Rashford and you all slated him and he doesn't perform like he was on flames.
There he is.
Oh, God. Just got humble brag from Baz there.
Reminds me of that time that I proved you all wrong.
What a guy.
Right. Scott, have you got a shoot and go play some football?
I do. Yeah, do that real life football thing.
Have fun. Go win. See you soon.
Yeah. See you later. Bye-bye.
Right. Let's get up, Matt, your wildcard team that was sent over to us, because we've been discussing wildcards. I don't know if you've managed to listen to any of what we've been chatting through so far. But we've got the wildcard team up here, and I'm interested to know what the FPL Affairs veteran is going to pick. Is this for 30 or 31, by the way? Is this week?
Jack and I basically were doing drafts for 30, which we did a short list in our Idiot's Guide to Wildcards, which we released earlier in the week, where we basically shortlisted each position and discussed why those names were there.
Nice.
And then in our Game Week 30 preview, which for one reason or another we've struggled to record, we were going to include a 15-man each. And actually doing it, because I've been planning to wildcard in Game Week 31 for ages. I've had pretty much a solid chip strategy since Game Week 23 or something like that, and that I've stuck to and stuck with transfers to navigate 29. But the one picture, sorry, it wasn't cropped so much. Once looking at it, it is making me consider actually playing it this week rather than waiting 5 days and seeing if we do get confirmation of any of the rescheduled dates. So provisionally, and this is only one sort of version-ish, I've got Pope in goal with Areola backup. Areola simply because if I play the bench boost as planned in 33, Areola's got Southampton.
Absolutely.
Back three, Gabriel, Gvardiol, and Munoz. And then in defence on the bench, I think I've penciled in Kirkes and Milenkovic.
Yeah. That's what's in there on that one. I'm interested before you move on to the midfield on this one.
Yeah.
So with the bench boost 33 as an option, you've got obviously three guys there, I think, who will all double in 33 at the back, provisionally. Then Kirkes and Milenkovic both don't double, but I think they both have half decent fixtures. We were discussing potentially the options of the cheap sort of Aston Villa defenders, or maybe throwing in another. I mean, I know you've got 3 Palace assets already, but maybe like a cheap Palace asset or something like that. What's made you go for Kirkes and Milenkovic over some double game week guys?
I mean, this isn't my final one. This one I took last night, the screenshot when I was polishing off the slides, and I have had rethinks because I very much was looking at combinations, goalkeepers and defenders. So, for example, if I went with Pope, I wouldn't get a Newcastle defender as well.
Sure.
And I think the only team really which I'd consider doubling up defence is, surprise, surprise, Arsenal. So what I've got at the moment, budget-wise, because I've got on the bench, well, when we come onto the midfield, there's ways I can raise some money, and I've kind of thought about those 2 defenders on the bench, potentially one of them being Timber.
Yep.
Alternatively, swapping Pope for Raya, and where I would have had Timber, possibly having Livramento.
Yeah, or potentially maybe even Burn. Is Burn still 4.4 or 4.5, something like that?
Something like that, but he's on 8 yellow cards. So
hopefully don't get 2 more.
because of the cup final, everyone under the sun will be going Newcastle defence, Burn.
Yeah.
I look at the price, they'll just go Burn. If not, they'll go Pope. So yeah, I think pretty much if I was wildcarding, and actually that back three are my starting back three of my existing team anyway. So if I don't hit the wildcard before tomorrow's deadline, then I've got those 3 in defence.
Yeah, I think to be honest, Matt, I think that back 3 seems pretty much nailed on. If I'm wildcarding, I'm almost certainly having that back 3. Which I almost certainly am wildcarding this week. And I think in terms of defence, Kirkes and Milenkovic, I might just end up going for like a Burn and a Conser or something like that, just so I've got people that double. I don't know how well they rotate, but it's just for basically targeting bench boost 33 and then free at 34. And then, I agree. I don't like a double up at the back in defence, really. Like you've mentioned there as well, because I think everyone's defence has been crap this season, really, haven't they? Let's be honest. How many clean sheets has people been getting? Even when you've had double Arsenal, I had double Arsenal for a while, and I only had a handful of clean sheets out of that as well. So, but yeah, I think that back 3 in particular that you've got starting there will be hella template. Because it's just a solid back 3, isn't it? Just depends if people want to invest the money in Guardiola when he's not really returned that much recently, but City's fixtures are class, aren't they? Midfield, talk to us about
that. Well, a lot of people from whether that be that I've spoken to or watched videos or read comments is they want to see Saka play first before committing to him. And since there seems to be the vibe is getting there's more people are moving from 31 to 30 regarding wildcard because of just where fixtures can fall and how likely the rescheduled fixtures are going to fall in 33. So I'm just thinking, you know what, I'll do a little risk by going Saka from the off.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Saka, mate. If he's fit, he plays 90 minutes.
Yeah.
They flog him until he can't breathe. The poor lad. Like he's always going to play if he's fit. So yeah, I don't blame you for this pick. He looks like he's in training. Looks like he'll be back for me.
Salah, obviously, template Sar. I've gone with Sar over Eze, partly due to price. Keeping Clivert for now, because he's got some nice fixtures, and then when it comes around to 33, he'll most probably be one of the players that potentially makes way for a doubler of some kind. Shortlist at the moment is Rashford, depending on funds, or Rodgers. It'll be following how Villa are playing and what their player rotation's like with the Champions League around that point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely something to keep an eye on,
Yeah.
absolutely, because it feels like Rashford starting cup games, not so much league games, doesn't it, at the
Mm.
moment? But then when he's on, maybe he's taking penalties now with the game against Preston, and then
Mm.
yeah. I mean, Rodgers just seems solid, doesn't it, all season? And I like the Gordon pick, by the way. It seems incredibly solid all week. And I suppose one of the big things, isn't it? If you don't go Saka, you might go someone a bit cheaper, then you can upgrade Sarteza maybe. But I
Mm.
suppose that's where you were talking about funds earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, and one of that was Gordon down to Murphy, because particularly if I was looking at, also actually that's one of the differences, trying to think about, because of template for people wildcard in game week 30 and 31, people are going to end up with similar teams. It's just sort of thinking, if I were to go in 30, excuse me, be thinking, where could I even gain a little bit of an edge over the people there? Hence why Saka, when some people may be trying to think off the top of my head now what other picks were being people that are going to hold off on Saka. So whether that be
Yeah.
to keep Palmer, since he's been pictured in training, and Jackson and Makaleli are fit as well, is some people will be holding that spot
Mm-hmm. No,
elsewhere,
yeah.
and even doing Clivert to Saka in 33, which means I would have, right, game weeks 30, 31, and 32
Mm-hmm.
of Saka, and Arsenal's fixtures are all right. Um,
Yeah.
Gordon again, I think a lot of people would be going with Murphy that are
Mm-hmm.
going this week. Um, it would just effectively mean that I'd be benching Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
He's suspended. The question mark really is the severity of the hip injury he suffered for England. Really, that's the doubt for me.
Yeah, I think what you were talking about funds. I think him out for Murphy is a relatively
Yeah.
easy one, really, because Murphy's going to play. He's been on good form this season. I know he's a little bit more hit and miss, whereas Gordon's definitely the more consistent option. But
Mm.
again, with funds, etc., it, it makes sense as a move.
Yeah, the Murphy versus Gordon, so to speak. Gordon's more of the goal scorer. Murphy's more the old school winger, rather than inverting. He's quite happy and content, and his strongest foot is his right foot. And him and Isak he's assisted Isak quite a lot of occasions this time. I can't remember the exact number, but eight eight combinations I think between the two of Murphy supplying Isak.
Something like that. Yeah, I've seen that as well. There was a stat on X, I think, and I saw it. Yeah, they work really well together. I mean, there's no way he's getting dropped, and I suppose that leads us on to your front three, which is,
He's
I
he's
mean,
got no Murphy's got no competition on the right since Almiron was sold. If anything, it would be when Gordon comes back, possibly Barnes playing on the right.
yeah,
But
just doesn't seem like something that Howe wants to do, really, though, does it?
no, not at the
Um,
moment.
and then your front three is, I mean, to be honest, it's the Haaland injury. It's the most template front three ever, isn't it, at the moment?
Isak, Mateta, and Marmoush. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the only real sort of difference thing when I was weighing up, the only way I could get Haaland in really, to a degree, I was sacrificing Mateta for Evan Nilsson.
okay, yeah,
Um, but that's not an issue. That's not an issue at the moment.
Yeah.
Baz, your thoughts on the wild card? You've sat there patiently, you've sat there quietly. You've been
Yeah,
thought processing. What do you think?
I was listening to it, and when obviously I heard Rashford pick up, I was like, oh, there we go. It's going to score some goals. As obviously our little wages coming off.
It's all right if he takes pens against the championship team, mate. But yeah, sure.
All right, all right. go score him, mate, haven't you?
Yeah, that's true.
I like since we obviously I mentioned Aston Villa. What about Incensio?
Mm.
But he's looked pretty decent. Obviously, Rashford keeps setting him up as well. So, and he's coming off the bench and making a massive impact. So, I think he's going to get a league start sooner rather than later. I think he could be, and he's cheaper than Rashford as well. So, 6.1 and Rashford 6.4 or 6 or something like that.
6.6, I think.
6.6, yeah,
So,
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so with that, I think it'd be a good shout, and I think it's going to be a good differential for people going forward with that. But yeah, I like the team. I think if I was wild carding, I think yeah, the two goalkeepers, you can't go wrong with that. Obviously got good fixtures for game week 33, and Saka's definitely worth the risk of getting him on early because we've all been stung by waiting another week, and next thing you know, his price goes up, skyrockets, and you can't afford him. So, yeah, I like it. Can't grumble at it. For me, the only issue is, and you know what I'm like, Alex, too much money in defence.
Yeah, I think. Look, for me, Munoz is as obvious as it gets. I think Gabriel is the same. I think the only real like gamble, but not with terms of an amount of money that's being spent, is on Guardiola. Just considering the amount of attacking returns he's got this season compared to, he's just an annoying player, isn't he? Because if you don't have him, he seems to return when you don't have him. What was your alternative, Matt, if you didn't go for Guardiola and potentially another cheaper option? Would it be then you sort of maybe looked at a Villa defender or another Newcastle one maybe or something like that?
Well, I said about doubling up on Arsenal defence. So
Timber, yeah.
Timber's the cheaper end of that. I think Lewis Skelly's actually down as a midfielder, isn't
He
he?
is, yeah. Yeah, he is, yeah.
So he can't go in there.
Well, maybe if you wanted to downgrade, I mean,
Canate was an
5.2.
option because Liverpool have got, I think, Leicester in 33.
Yeah, they Liverpool have got Leicester away, yeah, in 33. Yeah.
So for a bench boost, a single game player's not too bad of an option.
Have you used your assistant managership already?
Part of it though is that the clubs that are being targeted, that are doubles and fixtures, there's not a huge amount of premium players that are on form that you choose from those. So you've got more money in a way available and better options for cheaper midfielders.
Yeah, no, I think you do. I think as always in FPL, and you've played for many years, Matt. The midfield is always the area, isn't it? Like it just feels like if you're gonna win your mini league, it's getting them transfers right in the midfield location on your team is that's the position that's make or break really. Some seasons back in the day, maybe 10 years ago, whatever, you had your selection of strikers a little bit more. But yeah, now it seems to always be in your midfield area, if not. Interested to know. So have you used your assistant manager chip yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Yeah, awful, isn't it? We hate it on this podcast too. It's really he's got a bad rep across the board. My conundrum at the moment is basically I either use it later on in the season to probably take into account double game week 36. So I only get one double game week, use it 36, 37, 38, or 35, 36, 37. Or I wildcard this week and use it in 31, which then means obviously I can't bench boost in 33 because the only chip I've got absolutely locked in would be the free hit on 34. That's the was going to happen. Would you, if you were in my shoes, wait a week to wildcard, or even wildcard now,
So
bench boost 33 and assistant manager later, or would you assistant manager 31, 33 and bench boost
what
later?
chips have you used?
Just triple captain.
Just triple captain.
So my options are wildcard 30, 31,
Yeah.
bench boost 33, free hit 34, assistant manager later, or wildcard 30, assistant manager.
With the assistant manager chip, are you going to be one who seeks table bonus, or are you?
No, probably not. I think if I use it, it'll be on how 31, 32, and then make a decision 33 whether I transfer it to Palace to go for the table bonus and gamble against Bournemouth and Arsenal, or it would be a case I go probably then to Arteta for the double game week against Ipswich and Palace. So it'll be how 31, 32, and then debate if I want to gamble on a table bonus 33, which depends if I'm still in the cup after the first round, probably as well. Yeah, so that'd be what I'd do.
Well, I think the playing at the 35, 36, 37 or 36 to 38 is there are the opportunities for doubles in that potentially because of the clubs that get to the FA Cup final, because that clashes with game week 37. And those teams that say, most notably Tottenham and Villa, who are scheduled to play each other in 37 as well, I think.
Yeah.
That both of them are in. Villa still in the Champions League and Tottenham in the Europa, and I think the Europa final is
it's midweek game week,
midweek 37, I think it is.
Midweek, it's midweek. So if Villa make the final and Spurs make the final, then Spurs game has to move into 36. Yeah,
into 36. So therefore, you're looking at Emery.
Yeah, it would be Bournemouth, Tottenham.
Possible, and you've also got to weigh up whether there's the possibility of more fixtures with the doubles now, but then you're going to have teams on the beach when some clubs may end up doubling.
I think the other factor that's really got me is the fact that there could be no double in 36. And there could be no double in blank in 37. We just literally don't know what's going to happen there. Whereas using the assistant manager chip right now in 32, 33 means I'm guaranteed 5 fixtures from my assistant manager chip. Whereas I use it later, I might only get 3. Probably 4.
That's the safe bet, I think, to use. Because wildcard this week, assistant manager 31, 32, 33, free hit 34, and then you've got bench boost. And realistically speaking, though, the bench boost, which lots of people are looking at 30, even 32 or 34, is that those teams doubling, there's 4 teams doubling in likely to double in 33. That's a maximum of 12, which means on your bench, you're going to have at the most 1 doubling player and 3 singles. So if that's the case, then you can quite easily on a single game week with decent fixtures have a better option for a bench boost. Doesn't necessarily have to be a double because the double's not as big as it could have been. So if Bournemouth have won, then you'd be looking at Bournemouth players and Brentford players.
I think it's what we've all been saying, I think, since early doors, haven't we? The bench boost chip this season feels like playing it on a good single game week seems. So we've said it on the podcast 100 times already, and I know that Scott played it in a single game week earlier. It's one of those where even if it's a mini double or something, if you've got one doubler on the bench or you've just got a good set of fixtures, it's probably the weaker chip.
If I didn't have triple captain chip left, then I'd be very tempted to bench boost in 32 instead, because I looked at my wild card squad, either one similar to the one pictured or the one I'd penciled in for 31. The bench for 32 looked really nice.
Okay.
It looked like good. Was a, I think I even had like Arsenal defense, and they were playing Crystal Palace.
Yeah. City were.
I'm getting muddled with weeks. No,
No, fun.
yeah, it was City. It was having. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but
No,
yeah,
it was City. City had Palace. Arsenal played Brentford. And they were both teams were playing at home on those fixtures in 32 as well. And then obviously Palace had two hard away games, but they've got City and Newcastle away. But so I take it from that, Matt, that you're then triple captaining Isak in 32.
Yeah,
Cool.
highly likely.
You're there, Baz, as well, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's the factor of Ireland, Southampton, Bournemouth that I might hang fire on it. But then I've shot myself in the foot. There's no double game week. That's the only issue. It's like, and even if you might not be fit, so it's a tough one.
Who as well for yourself this season? About like I'm just going to get their statistics up now, but between the two teams, I mean, who's even got the most points between the two players this season? Total score: Haaland's got 171 against Isak's 169. So they're basically at the same point. Haaland got half of those points in the first 5 weeks or something, didn't he? It was absolutely mad, his start to the season. Whereas Isak, well, I mean, to be fair, Isak's only got 2 returns in the last six games he's played. Yeah, because he didn't play against Liverpool. So he's only got 2 returns in his last
was tactical.
6, 7. Well, probably, yeah.
Well, Eddie, I'm going a bit off FPL, so I'll keep it brief, but how did admit when interviewed after winning the Carabao Cup that in the league game they deliberately set up differently. They tried to win the game just a different way, just not as they intended in the cup final, just so they didn't show their hand, and it also meant that Van Dijk didn't get an extra practice against Isak.
Yeah, I really like that thought process, to be honest. I mean, let's be totally frank. I mean, that's the biggest game in Newcastle's club history, like to win in 70 years. At the end of the day, you've obviously had a couple of other cup finals in there, a couple of them against my team, to be honest, and it's just ended up not going your way on the day. But yes, it was massive for you to win that game. So, and there's not one person here that wasn't cheering you on, especially as a United fan when you're playing that team. But anyway, there you go. Yeah.
Say it. You're begrudged to say it.
Wow.
Liverpool,
Premier League winners, unfortunately, but there you go, 20 each. But it's all right. When we win the Europa League, it'll be 1 trophy for Amarin and 1 for Slot, 1 for Howe. Oh, we'll all be equal, and you'll come 13th, Baz, won't you? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we'll just be mediocre in Championship for a couple of seasons. But our game was at the weekend where we drew 2-2 and missed a penalty against Leeds. So, yeah, but we'll take that all day.
You had 12 players in the end. One of them was in goal for Leeds, so I won't worry about that too much.
Okay, well, I hope you found that insightful and helpful. We continue after that to discuss captaincies over the following weeks and generally have a talk about our podcast in general. Okay, where to find us? On X, username FPL Affairs on Facebook, our official group. Link is on screen, but also if you just search FPL Affairs, the group should come up on there. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at FPL Affairs for all our existing videos and the forthcoming content we've got planned for the rest of the season. If you also click the little bell for the notifications, that should alert you with new content. And finally, the Spotify note below. All that's left to say is keep your FPL affairs under wraps until Tuesday's deadline, and then plaster it over as much social media as you like. Bye bye, everybody.
Shall we have a quick discussion on captaincy then? Let's go on to that for both game weeks 30 and 31. I can put my teeth in. Anybody not going for Salah? Thoughts on anybody else?
Marmouche.
What? Hey, listen. There's your differential shout, isn't
It's
it?
the viable. Well, the likes of Mateta and Marmouche are valid shouts. I think the different being really is the thing with Salah really now is that if you don't captain him, then he's a spy in your team effectively, which means even if it's you're going to lose rank if you don't captain him. And I think the fact that they're at home, Merseyside derby, they haven't played since losing the cup final, and also how Everton got Tarkowski got the 98th minute or whatever equaliser at Goodison. They're going to be very motivated to go out for that game.
Oh, they'll be well
Guns
up for it.
blazing by a country mile. There would be anyway because it's a Merseyside derby, but I think there's lots of motivational points to put across. So yeah, mine will definitely be on Salah, whether I'm wild carding or not.
Yeah. They felt wrongfully screwed over by the extra time. I know Baz actually thinks that they were right, like I think they were screwed over because he didn't think there should have been that much time added on, but I think there should have been. I think it was totally within the right, and they lost the game because they slacked off. They lost the game, drew the game, felt like they lost, didn't they? But I do agree with you, Matt. Like that, if I would go into Anfield after what happened there, you know what Anfield's like.
Mm.
I wouldn't want to be an Everton player going into that game. That's for sure.
Colosseum. Walking into the Colosseum, isn't it?
Feels that way. It's a great place to go, by the way. I just went there a few weeks ago. It was amazing. Rome's amazing. Yeah, I agree. Marmouche is a shout. Leicester, obviously, they're at home as well, City, which makes a big difference. And Leicester are awful. So it makes it, like I said, makes a difference. My worry is about Mateta, and why I wouldn't be captaining him is exactly what Baz said earlier in the podcast about his performance at the weekend was pretty mediocre.
And they're away.
And they're away as well. So for me, it's a Marmouche gamble because we know what he can deliver, but they are playing a bad team. But yeah, it's Salah all day. I think it has to be. Baz, your thoughts on that?
Exactly the same. There's no point covering any more than that.
Yeah, fair.
I think it's either Salah or Marmouche, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree. Deadline for Saturday, 11 o'clock, where Everton Arsenal is the early kickoff on TNT. Thoughts for captaincy in this one, lads? We've got a Manchester derby, which is very, very exciting. And then we've got Leicester are playing Newcastle in this one. Liverpool away at Fulham. And we're looking at Isak. Is it relatively straightforward again?
I think it's straightforward because you're not going to wildcard any Spurs players in because you want to be having like a Slanky or a Son or Maddison, even though he hasn't been playing well. But I looked at his stats and he looks like he always gets around the goal involvements, but he's been in and out of the team. So for me, I think it would just be Isak on that.
Yeah, fair enough. Matt, your thoughts?
It's a tricky thing, really, because looking at the weaker teams you would target for opposition, Um, Ipswich and Leicester are at home rather than away. Um, and it's that age-old conundrum of how midfielders that extra point for a goal and a point for a clean sheet, which even though Liverpool are playing Fulham, I'm just trying to do my maths again. So like if Salah gets a typical goal, assist, three bonus, and Liverpool find a way of conceding, then Salah would get what, the two appearance points, 5 points for a goal, that's seven, the assist, 10, bonus 30. So you're looking at what, 13, 14 points ish for a goal and assist and the bonus.
Hmm.
Isak would have to get
Two returns, really, wouldn't he? Let's be honest.
at least two goals. And
Yeah.
even if he got two goals, he wouldn't necessarily get the assist. But then
Yeah,
to
it's, I
be
mean,
fair, he's
he'd
quite
probably get the
capable.
same. Yeah, he'd
He's
get the
quite
same amount of
capable of
points, wouldn't
getting.
he? Yeah.
He got a hat trick away at Ipswich earlier in the season. Leicester's
Yeah.
Leicester's defence as well. So
They're terrible, yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. It does depend on how Isak looks in the game this week as well, a little bit. Because I know obviously he's been nursing injuries and this, that, and the other, but they've had a little bit of time off. And did he play for Sweden? Because they absolutely battered,
yeah,
was it Ireland?
he the first game they played twice. The first game he played just over an hour, I think, and he was quite quiet for that. Second game against Northern Ireland, he got a goal and an assist.
Was it 5-1, 5-0, 5-1? They beat and they battered them, didn't they? But yeah, you look at his form. I think as well in this situation. I don't know, past when you look in the past, you if you've got two players in form like a Salah and an Isak, they're both away from home. I tend to, if I go form over fixture. Generally, that's
Mm,
how I generally go for my picks. But then if I think they're similar forms, it's the fixture, isn't it? And I think at that point it would be a case of just Isak would edge it.
mm.
And there's no one out there really. I'd thought. Baz, you think your
Yeah,
captain?
like I said, it's between them two, and it's highly unlikely because wild card in 30 and 31 is very rare that you're going to get a Spurs player in. So yeah, it's going to be them two.
I think to wrap up the pod, Matt,
Mm.
couple of things I wanted to ask you about. So you guys do your podcast.
Yeah.
When do you put it out, and have you got a regular day? How does it all work?
Well, we try to record on a Tuesday evening, with my various different other work and family commitments. It's got to be pretty much evening, like after 8:30. We usually record in one sitting, um, and we've explored through the season about structuring it, about reviewing the previous game week, then maybe having a particular topic or two topics, and we've sort of, as well as looking at the time for each pod, and Jack can waffle on quite easily, which means I've got to stick to the point a bit more. So sorry if I've waffled. Um,
It's hard
It's
when
all
you're not
right.
the host. I'm the one who's been like, right, this thing next, this thing next. You know what it's like. You're the person who drives it and drives it and drives it and drives it on, and then the guests come on like Baz and list every single player in FPL.
mm,
Murotsi and Bellegarde
But
and
that's it.
yeah.
I love it.
so how we've kind of where we're at the moment, every week we're doing a first episode will likely be the review of the previous game week, where we'll look at Jack's team, my team, then the key lessons learned from that particular game week.
Mm.
And usually that will take roughly half an hour, depending on whether there's intense talking points to take from the game week or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we might spend a little bit longer on our teams if either one of us has done amazingly well, or there'd been a lot of thought processes going into multiple transfers or so
That's the
on, because we've
positive
really
of having your own podcast, mate. You can just talk about your own team if you've had a good week. That's what I love about it. I've done really well this week, and then we could just skip over my team if I've had a bad one.
well, the problem was the week I think I did really well and got over 100 and was got my game week rank was like 120k in the world or something that week. I think it might have been like a midweek game, because of both Jack's life and my life, and this is a hobby. We it was trying to figure in, okay, when are we actually going to cover this? Um, and then yeah, I'm currently on a run of three reds, I think, and he's on a bit of a roll of multiple green. So it'll be you talk about yours for a while, and then I'll just selectively. But lately, I've been very much on a 50-50, the wrong side of 50-50 decisions, and they've been like valid decisions. So like last week, it was like Gvardiol and a Forest midfielder, or Fernandez and a cheaper defender. I was point 0.1 short of Milenkovic. So in the end, because I couldn't think of or decide on a cheap defender, I went with Gvardiol, and lo and behold, the Forest midfielder was a literally flip of a coin between Gibbs White and Alanga, and lo and behold, I got Gibbs White. So
To be fair, I mean, if you ever were privy to our WhatsApp group, it's basically me talking about how I've lost the captaincy flip every week. That's literally how this season's gone, isn't it? But I was like, I had a Bruno Wood one this week.
Yeah,
Fucking
and
Bruno.
also the
Oh.
goalkeeper rotation as well. I don't think, yeah, we never get that right. So we kind of go in, right, let's stick with just a keeper and just have the other one as just a backup.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, going back to your question about our the FPL Affairs pod. Um, at the moment, we're looking at the three videos. Certainly this time of year with chip strategy, we're looking at what we've sort of jokingly come up with an idiot's guide series, where each one, and this is great to limit Jack's waffle, seriously, this way, is by having more detailed slides, which I share, where it's basically he's reading it, and he can't go too much off point,
Yeah.
which means, so like so far in the series we did Idiot's Guide to the Assistant Manager chip. We've done an Idiot's Guide to chip strategies. This week, we did Idiot's Guide to Blank Game Week 29, and we'll rejig that for 34. We did
Yeah.
wild cards
I like that, by
one,
the way,
and then
the idiot's guide you're talking about,
yeah,
because from a podcast perspective, something I've thought about quite a few times is that every single podcast we do is so time stamped. Like, this podcast is why we've done a live one. I mean, it's dead as of Wednesday. Like, literally nobody cares. I'll put this out tonight. If someone doesn't
mm,
listen to it in the next 24 hours, it's dead.
yeah,
It's almost pointless. So with the idiot's guide stuff, it's good to have something that isn't time stamped, that you can basically go
mm,
back to every year when you talk about an idiot's guide. If you don't make it game week specific, and something
yeah,
that we consider doing, it means that you've got a separate YouTube or playlist of
yeah,
stuff that you
and
can always go back to.
the wild card one we did this week. I did that as well with the wording of the slides, and because we've largely done with each of them, the first few slides have been what's this chip. So on this occasion, it would have been, what is the wildcard chip? A few key points of what it is. Okay, when might be a good time to use it? And then just a few points of which game weeks, and then slides on specific ones. And from how we've worded it, the bulk of that I'll do a new so for that was a wild card one actually. I'm getting muddled myself now. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
the blank game week one, because for blank game weeks it was a lot more. This is what it is. This is what a blank game week is. This is why you're using it, and so on. And that, because it was so general, um, loads of it I can just, when we rejig it, or just reissue a chunk of that video, and then we'll just, the slides at the end, which will be more game week specific, will effectively, in our new recording, we'll just pick straight up from that.
Nice. No, it's good. It makes sense. And one final question I had for you, because you talk about overall rank. Is that how you sort of rate your season, or do you do it by your mini leagues? Have you got a couple of mates mini leagues, or have you got an FPL
Um,
Affairs mini league?
it's I think for me, it's changed over the last few years because I first got into it with mates from uni who set one up with their work thing. So I was very, very casual for a long time. Where some seasons I didn't play, like the season Newcastle were in the Championship, didn't play those seasons. And then I think it's only really been the last maybe 4 seasons, include yeah, this being my fifth, where I've actually proper spent a lot more time and effort into it. Um, and the last two prior to this one, where I've actually been watching content creators, a lot of it before that, when I started taking it seriously, a little bit more seriously and putting more time into it, I was I was largely going quite template and just each week, right, who are the most transferred in players, who's got the most, which players have got the average points per game over the last six, and
Mhm.
if I could afford them, I transferred those players in. That's that was basically what I did, and then last couple of years put more time with watching content creators and thinking more long term plan, and that did a big jump. So last season I finished 26k.
Strong.
Season before 68, I think.
Nice.
But both of those weeks, I had horrible game week. I had horrible game week 38s because I think the 2 years ago I was just outside the top 50k, and I can't remember what I did, but I basically put a little either differential captain or something to try to just get me into that top 50, but it didn't work, and I dropped a bit further down. And last season I was about 22k, and I thought I want to try and get into that top 20, and it backfired, and I dropped just outside the top 25. And this season started horribly. Game week 10, I was 4.5 million.
Oh, you were Baz then.
Yeah, that's where I am now, I think. 4.5 million.
So yeah, up to 439 now. I had like 10 green arrows in 11 weeks following that.
Strong.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
hey
it's
ho.
interesting. I just find I've always looked at my mini leagues, to be fair. I mean, I had one season where I was 10k, and then I've had a few where I was sort of 80s and stuff like that. But generally for me, I always just look at the mini league because it's like you talk about with Salah as a spy in your team. I mean, he still probably is in in your mini leagues as
Mm,
such, but at least there's a chance of maybe going differential against your mates that you play in your eight mates or something. You can
mm,
make that bigger jump rather than if you're just doing it against overall rank. I find the conversation overall rank sometimes quite suffocating because it's like you are playing against effective ownerships and da da da. I mean, I've played FPL pretty serious about 10 years, and
mm.
I've got to the point about 2 or 3 years ago where I was just like, I hate overall rank so much. I just end up literally just looking at my mini leagues. I think I'm about a millionth at the moment. I think I can't remember where I am, something like that. But
The,
um,
the only mini league I'm actually, although I'm in quite a few, the only one I'm actually paying much attention to is the one Barry's in as well. The admin one for the FPL Affairs Facebook group. That's the only one. I think out of the, I think 12 or 13 teams that are in there.
Yes, yes.
I think I'm fifth in that. But I think the problem is because as an admin team we're talking some of us more gibberish than others every day in a messenger group is
Yeah.
we end up talking sometimes so much about our teams is that the ones near the top to some degree may well be thinking, right, what's what's player, what's Matt doing or what's Jack doing or
It's just the worst
what's
way to
Barry
fucking
doing
FPL, though, isn't it? It's just the worst way. You've
or
got to
whichever.
play it your way, ain't you? That's
Yeah, no, no one worries about me. I'm like down, I think 10th or 9th or something like that. I don't
the
want to get too high. I might get a nosebleed.
the
Um,
Facebook
so
the
yeah,
Facebook the Facebook
Mhm.
FPL Affairs Facebook group
Yeah.
that's what just under 65k
mm,
Mhm.
in the group, which it has been for a long time, and I'm not going to get sidetracked into a discussion on that. Um, but yeah, the like Jack was runner up in that last season, and he won the cup of the league last season.
It's a good year.
Um,
yeah, smashed
so
it.
he was well there. He had a this season he got stuck in a bit of a rut. He had an okay start, and then he was just sort of floating around the 200k for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like he'd get a green, then he'd drop down a bit. He found it very tedious and frustrating. Um, but yeah, so he's been climbing up, and he's got a good record the last few seasons. And the winner of the FPL Affairs or FPL Hardcore, it's called this season. Um, the winner of that last season, who's an admin, he's Dave's not doing too sensational this season. His wife's doing better than him. Sorry, Dave. If you
He'll love
watch,
that shout out.
If he will, because we all love shouting out our mates who aren't doing too well. I would say at this point. Um, Anything else to cover, Baz? Or should we wrap it up there?
Yeah, I think wrapped up. Yeah, nice hourly long chat. It's
Yeah,
always good, and
it's been
inviting fellow FPL Affairs admin Matt has been nice.
yeah, good. And also don't forget to also subscribe to the FPL Affairs Facebook group if Matt wants to expand his 65,000. That I don't dare get into that conversation. I felt the tension on that
no,
one. I don't know.
it had previously been a different name, and then too many. It was just Fantasy Premier League, but then there seemed to be more and more groups with the same name, and by that point we'd started the podcast, so it was just should we just change the Facebook group name to FPL Affairs as
Nice.
well? So it was like, yeah, fine. I'm not complaining with that. So yeah, if you want to find us or our group on Facebook, just search Facebook groups for FPL Affairs and our YouTube channel at FPL Affairs. Really?
Strong.
Um,
No TikTok. No.
no, no.
Should get Jack to do some waffles on there. That'd be good by the sounds of it.
Oh, Jack and technology don't mix.
He can do a TikTok if he just that thing where he films his face for a minute and just has to waffle because it limits you to like a minute. So just say, right, Jack's 1 minute waffle about the last game week. I bet you get loads of views on that. I'm cool, loads of ideas. Right, I'm done.
Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at FPL Affairs for all our existing videos and the forthcoming content we've got planned for the rest of the season. If you also click the little bell for the notifications, that should alert you with new content. And finally, the Spotify note below. Anyway, you can probably tell I felt a bit random and awkward doing this without Jack, and a little bit lonely. So looking forward to welcoming him back for our game week 30 review. All that's left to say is keep your FPL affairs under wraps until Tuesday's deadline, and then plaster it over as much social media as you like. Bye bye, everybody.